how has your experience been? You've seen technology change from schools to what we are right now in the atmosphere. So how has it evolved?
I can just say I was fortunate that I happened to be interested in audio and sound at a time when, audio technology in the analog world, which is magnetic tape, was just kind of about to reach its zenith. I mean, it already had with 2-inch 24 track and other machines being there, analog consoles being one of the best, outboard rack being one of the best quality ones which are out there, which of course we are emulating now in plugins. So I kind of jumped into audio at that point of time. So I was very fortunate to work with that, hear that sound, and that has become the imprint for me. And I think people from my generation, and I would like to include Bhaskar in that, though he likes to slip out. But for people of our generation who got an opportunity to listen and imprint what that analog sound was all about, which is what everybody's trying to emulate now backwards in today's day and time. So that formed a very important basis for my work later on in the years. And of course, then the advent of digital. So if you
Right.
look at a quick history of sound, it's like, I mean, if I may just point out, the stereo is just like, 1930s, man, and look at where we are now, post stereo, in terms of purely as a format. It was only when we got into a 5.1, if I want to say it, especially for cinema. I'm not talking about audio music right now, but let's say just for cinema. That's the time the format changed. But till that time, we had mono, we had stereo, and for a long time, we had just stereo, left and
Nothing.
right channel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that evolution of sound, and of course, in the recording medium, with the phonograph with Mr. Edison, and coming with LPs, coming with I mean, Internet of the 30s is radio is called the Internet of the 30s.
Hmm.
That was the internet then, radio. First time mass consumption of music and entertainment. Coming to cassettes, 8 track, and CDs. So formats have changed so much as well. Look at it now. So we were at the cusp of analog, and then we saw the start of digital, right from the bottom to what we call today sterile recording, very low bit rate, CD quality, which everybody thought was too clean and too sterile and, too rigid, didn't have the warmth of the analog. So, and to the rising quality of the digital audio, right now we all are familiar with, we have lived with it, and we are comfortable with it. That's also another important point. So that early war of whether analog is good or digital is good is slowly, I think, being laid to rest.
True.
We are coming to grips with some fantastic quality of sound, and there have been certain companies who've been responsible for pushing that barrier of quality of sound and using technology to kind of bring it to every person, whether in terms of creation of sound. So I call it, there is creation of sound, whether it's music, voice, cinema, or anything. You have audio which is created, then that audio is recorded and processed and edited and mixed, then it is distributed, and lastly it's consumed. So there are these four aspects of audio which are there, and through the years we've seen all four have changed. The
Yeah.
way we make music, the way we record music, the way we distribute music, and the way we listen to music, if I may just call music as such, all has changed. Nothing is what it was, any of those four formats. So that's just to kind of bring you to up to date to now, for people who might not be just familiar with where we've come from. And I think it's always important to just look back over your shoulder in terms of history, where we've come from, just to realize what all we've achieved, because sometimes we lose perspective from that point of view. So great advances ultimately coming into, like I said, 5.1, 7.1, the extensions, THA, everything, and then finally with Atmos. Though I think Dolby can correct me and Bhaskar can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 2012 or somewhere when
Yeah,
Brave was there with Pixar,
that's
right?
right.
So right, so
2012.
we are looking at a 9 year a 9 year old technology which has already been there 9 years, and so they've been pushing it out there in cinema, and now it's in Dolby Music as well. So Atmos is there. So we are beginning to just take baby steps in terms of coming to understand this format and the advancement in technology to kind of figure out how we are going to again do all those four things. So
Right.
this new format is now pushing us into all those, for how do we go about doing this, and finally come to certain standardizations which they've already set. So that's a benchmark to start with. But for engineers who are creators, us engineers, and then finally listeners, we all have to come to some kind of an agreement and some kind of a common ground that we all agree, yeah, this is good material. So, yep, so many changes in such a short span of my lifetime. I'm seeing, and I'm absolutely blown away, fascinated by it.
You're still quite young, sir. So let us
Of
not
course,
get into. Yeah.